Welcome to Meadowbrook Memories podcast. I am Jelly, otherwise known as Glacier Prince, and my co-host is Hitchcock, otherwise known as Alfred Henry. Our mission on this podcast series is to explore the stories behind the magic that was created at Meadowbrook. When over a span of 4 years, between 1982 and 1986, we saw the transformation of a small co-educational school with less than 1,200 students, 800 boys, 800 girls and 400 boys into a successful sports and scholastic champion, winning 7 major trophies, 3 Sunlight Cup, 2 Tappin Cup, 1 Walker Cup, and 1 Nutrament Shield. And to crown these achievements, Meadowbrook also produced 2 Rhodes Scholars, Cavell Creighton in 1987 and Andrea Wright in 1989, both graduates of Meadowbrook in 1983. In this podcast series, we'll be speaking to persons, both males and female, who were actively involved in this incredible journey, along with friends and staff at Meadowbrook, which inspired the environment which created this golden era. We hope you enjoy our discussion. Please give us as much support and encouragement as you can on whatever social media platform you are listening. Welcome and thanks for joining us. All right, ready? So remember to like, share, and subscribe these Meadowbrook Memories podcasts so neither you nor your friends will miss another Meadowbrook conversation. Thanks.
Our Heavenly Father, we just thank you for today. We thank you for bringing us together one more time to put the benefit and the future of our alma mater, Meadowbrook High School in Kingston, Jamaica, in your hands. We thank you for everyone who is on this line. Bless Mrs. Walker, bless Carol, Sonia, Donovan, Prince, and myself. Guide the conversation and be in the midst. All this we ask in your name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Carol.
Amen.
Let me go into the introduction right away. Today is Saturday, December 16, 2023. Welcome to a very special Meadowbrook Memories conversation. Today, Nadine Moulton and Donovan Tegra Thomas will be joining our conversation as we go down memory lane to celebrate the life of our beloved Miss McClennon, or Spanna as she's affectionately called by all of us. Also joining us is Mrs. Valerie Walker, Miss McClennon's sister, Carotta Walker, her niece, who was also a student at Meadowbrook, and another niece, Sonia Dixon, who was very close to Miss McClennon, but she did not attend Meadowbrook. The fact that this podcast will be released as the 100th episode is a significant and humbling achievement for me. Because when I started this conversation almost 2 years ago, I had no idea I would be joined by the relative of Miss McClennon. Because making a century is a special achievement in cricket, Miss McClennon and my favorite sport. And by reaching this milestone, I can hear her saying to us cricketers, one slip and you're in the gully. Which means that this conversation did not slip, so we are not in the gully. So welcome, everybody. Introduce yourself. You go ahead first, Mrs. Walker. You go ahead and introduce yourself, and then Sonia, and then Carol. Go ahead, Mrs. Walker.
Well, I'm Valerie Walker, and I'm the youngest in the family, the last one, the wash belly. And I had most influence from my dear sister, Carotta LeeAnna McClennon. And here am I today. Didn't anticipate this, but I'm grateful for this occasion and thank you all very much for putting her in your precious memories.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. And you go ahead, Sonia, introduce yourself.
Once more, I'm Sonia Dixon, and as my aunt said, Aunt Valerie, my aunt had a great influence on me. She brought me up. I lived with her from I was about 3 right up to around 18 years old. So as you're doing now, many times we don't realize the impact that someone has on us till we get much older. But I was happy that I was able to communicate that to her impact on me before she passed away. So she knew. She also was able to visit the school that I was teaching in Toronto. So, that was something that was really pleasing to her.
Oh, thank you, Sonia. And Carol, you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Carol Walker. I am the niece, and it's such an honor to be here to talk about the legacy of my Aunt Lee. That's what we affectionately called her, Aunt Lee. And even though I was going to say I didn't follow in her footsteps of teaching, I had a taste of it because I remember she appointed me to teach history when I was in sixth form for the third form. And I did that for about a year, and it also put a little bit of money in my pocket. In addition to that, I was a dance teacher for about 15 years. So even though I didn't teach academics, I was more inclined to the arts. Her influence was very much felt. So thank you for the honor of being here.
Thank you, Carol. And Nadine, reintroduce yourself.
My name is Nadine Moulton. I'm a graduate from 1984 and attended sixth form until 1986. Meadowbrook was my home away from home, and it has its influence. I've been passionate about it pretty much all my life. I am presently serving as the president of the Alumni Association New York chapter here. And it is a pleasure to be here and to be in such a esteemed company, Miss McClennon's sister, who was just such an idol for me and framed a lot of my Meadowbrook days. Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Nadine.
You're Nadine, you're graduating what? 1986?
Yes, I left sixth form in 86.
Okay, here is. Can you see this?
Yeah, we can. Yes.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am seeing
the
that.
yearbook for 1986.
So,
Okay.
1986.
You can locate your picture in here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it is so funny. I'm not sure if I'm in the last one, but I can tell you, I just shared that yearbook at our get together here in New York in April. And apparently it was such a treasured memorabilia. Somebody actually moved away with it, and I've not been able to locate it since after all these years. So it is really good to see it on camera. Thank you so much. Maybe you'll find me, but I'm not sure.
So you were in the group with Peter Champagne and Hera Blair?
Yes, I was.
All right.
So yeah,
I'm
you're up to date then, Mrs. Walker. But Dante,
always.
Dante, reintroduce yourself back for me.
Morning. Pleased to meet you all. Donovan Thomas, aka Tegre, aka Dante, from a later date. Went to Meadowbrook between 1980 to 1985. I was in Peter Champagne's and Hera Blair's class from first form to fifth form. Mrs. McClennon is, it's such a pleasure for me to meet you guys. And that's because Mrs. McClennon, it's such an honor to me as well to give honor to Mrs. McClennon. She's probably has been probably the single most influential person in my life. I'm also a past president of the Past Students Association, a board member at the school.
Wonderful.
And I am continuously giving back to Meadowbrook because of our dear Spanna. Yeah?
Yeah. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Dante.
Yeah.
And it's a pleasure for me too for having this conversation. As I say, on my 100th episode, and Miss McClennon would be proud that is a cricket analogy we're using. Cause I didn't realize she was a avid cricket fan until we spoke last week. But I have a question I want to ask Sonia and Mrs. Walker for the first question. It's normally the question I ask all guests who come on. And maybe Mrs. Walker, you can help me. Did Miss McClennon choose Meadowbrook or Meadowbrook chose her?
Well, let's put it this way, both ways. Because of the influence of Reverend Ward, right? She went to Water Valley School. This is Reverend Ward. Can you see that?
Yes,
No.
yeah, we can see it,
Okay.
yeah.
Now we see it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he was the person who would choose what you should do. And you couldn't get away from out of, we call him Parcel Wards. It seems that it was destined for her to be at Meadowbrook because she went to school at Water Valley, and the church and school worked along in those days, plus the community. And it's like a career path from there, because it's like you're geared towards a certain profession. And after that, you had to give back. So it was destined for her after she completed university, because she had to teach in the elementary or primary school. And after she went to the university and he founded Meadowbrook High School, she better find herself there to teach.
Wow.
So she was there for over 40 years, as you can see. So it's just a school-church relationship that the family actually, has. And on Sunday, we'll be celebrating 150 years of the ministry of Presbyterian United Church right there at her school where she went and church on Sunday. So tomorrow I will have to be in St. Mary's, Linton, to celebrate with them. And also, recorded is all that she did. She actually did this booklet on Reverend Ward's life when he was 100 years old, right? And tomorrow we will celebrate his ministry and also of the Presbyterian United Church that was influential in our community in Islington. So she was destined to be at Meadowbrook.
The only thing, Val, remind me, I'm not sure, but wasn't that the year when she started teaching? Wasn't that the first year that Meadowbrook was?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Great.
That's
a question I had as well.
Yes, that was the first year. Yes.
You have seen pictures of the foundation staff, and she was a member of that. She was in those pictures. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I'm happy for that confirmation. So
it's like
because I've been telling people that.
Yeah, go ahead, Dante.
I've been telling people that I'm happy for that confirmation, because that's one of the questions I wanted to ask. To confirm that she was a member of the first group of teachers that went to Meadowbrook.
She and, excuse me, Lena McCourty.
Yeah, Mrs. McCourty, yeah. A couple of students have come and... Yeah. Yeah, but I didn't know Mrs. McCourty at all. I know Mrs. McClennon because she was there while I was there in the 80s. And I'm in that picture that was giving her that cup that she must have cherished a lot, 1982, so... I saved those pictures. Those are special. But it's more than that, though, Dante. You realize that Miss McClennon, as her sister said, was destined for the Meadowbrook. It's like Miss McClennon is Meadowbrook itself.
Yep.
Not that she chose Meadowbrook. It's like she is Meadowbrook. Yeah. Yeah. That's the confirmation we're getting here now.
It's not a matter of who chose who. That was her destiny.
Yeah, exactly.
There was no choice to be made.
No.
And I think, we're all happy for it. Right.
So, but let me ask you the same question, Carol. Since you went to Meadowbrook as well, after I asked you this question, did you choose Meadowbrook or Meadowbrook chose you?
No. Meadowbrook, I was sent there. I was voluntold that's where I was going to school.
You had no choice.
I did not have a choice. I did not have a choice. It was Meadowbrook or nothing at all. So it was Meadowbrook. So I never knew anything. I never knew about I heard about Immaculate. I heard about Campion College. I heard about all these different schools. However, it was a legacy placement. Mm-hmm. And to continue with that, like I went to Howard because my parents went to Howard, the good school. I think I would have ended up there anyway, but it was something that I was groomed to understand that this was my path.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell you, we wanted her, right? Daddy and myself wanted her to go to Immaculate, right? And the reason too, because we were
that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
But my sister, she had it all cut out. So where my children ought to go, and Daddy wasn't very pleased, but the demanding person, she cutely, they go to St. Richard's, to give them whatever it is. And eventually they got scholarship for Meadowbrook. I said, what is this? So she had it cut out for everybody. I can tell you that.
Yes.
Because she's the one who chose which high school I was to go. And I must go to a boarding school, a co-ed boarding school. So I went to Happy Grove High School during the days when Dr. K.B. and Crooks was headmaster there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I must have escaped. I think I escaped when you finished.
Also, because of Meadowbrook and the association, she wanted my children to be there.
Yeah, and you, Sonia, how come you never ended up at Meadowbrook?
I escaped because the year before Meadowbrook was founded, I had already just started at St. Jago.
Okay, I got you.
I recalled I had taken the common entrance, but she said she had told me that she had wanted me to go to Woolmer's. So she actually went to Woolmer's. I got the interview. It was this white lady who was the principal there at the time. And she said she would have accepted me. But when I got the scholarship and hadn't yet started, maybe I would have gone to Meadowbrook if she had started teaching Meadowbrook. So when I got the common interest, because I was in Spanish Town for St. Jago, she told me I had a choice. Do you want to go to Woolmer's or do you want to go to St. And I said, I want to go to St. Jago because I have friends there. And she allowed me. I don't know how come she did, but I said to her, I want to go to St. Jago because my friends are there. And she allowed me even after she got to Meadowbrook and I was living back with her when she finished university. I was able to travel, the distance from Kingston to Spanish Town. But she had such an influence in the way how I got to school from Kingston. And I was telling her, no, but would not listen. She asked all teachers, the teachers who used to travel to St. Jago, if they would give me a ride because she was living at Dunrobin, just on the pathway. And she said no. And she researched and found out this Englishman, Mr. Rapp, who was teaching French. She found out his address, wrote to him, and said, can you take my niece? He came right to the house. I was shocked because I couldn't believe she did something like that. And she told him she would like him to transport me to school, and he did.
That's. But let me ask you a question, Mrs. Walker, because what was she like when she was younger? Because it sounded like she never took no for an answer from anybody.
Exactly. Because
that's her. Hold on.
Look
Look at the picture just showing us that.
Yeah. Hold up
a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, man. We see. That's her. But what was she like, Mrs. Walker? It looked like.
Have you seen that picture?
Yeah, we've seen it. Yeah, we've seen it. Yeah.
When she was a little girl?
Yeah. Well, I have to come and get. Yeah, I forgot to send me those pictures. That I post those pictures on the. And when the podcast come out next weekend, I need those pictures, Carol. You have to send me those pictures.
Okay, I'll work on it. Okay.
Yeah, man. Send me all of those pictures you have of her that I can show all the pictures to everybody what she was like as a little girl. Yeah. But tell me,
but you want to know if she was bossy, if she was.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Was she a boss? Was she not a boss? Was she the boss?
I know. She had her way.
You mean when she was a little girl?
Yeah.
Or when she was younger, yes. A big sister, the big sister influence.
Can you see this?
Yes, we
Put
can.
it
Yeah.
over some higher up. Yeah.
That's her mother.
Oh, that's okay.
That's my yes.
That's your grandmother.
grandma.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Yes, Miss Lena.
What's her name? What's her name, Mrs. Walker?
Lena Maud Dixon.
Okay.
She was a very, very influential person where discipline is concerned, where a mother was concerned. And there were certain habits that we adopted from this woman. That is why she keeps on speaking about her mother. But most of the traits that she had came from mother. And from what I understand, growing up, she had this not air and wasn't proud, but she was a very disciplined person. And hearing my mother speak, you would think that really she was a trained teacher or whatever. But in those days, you couldn't go further than where? 6th class, Sonia?
Right. Third year exam.
At Water Valley School, where they offered a lot of discipline in certain subjects, not just academic subjects, but the vocational subjects and so on. You became a whole person, a rounded person. And because of that type of influence, my sister, Leanna, she grew up a very disciplined and a little sophisticated. And she was always not really commanding, but she took charge from a very early day, early in the day. She took charge of everybody, everybody. You had to be very courteous. You don't speak any patois. Yes. So she really was the type of person, a model, a role model. And she got that from my mother. And my mother was a very smart person, because she would say, well, each one help one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sure that the discipline was, and it came down to all of us. But Sonia and myself got most of it because we're the smallest one in the family. And,
You're the last born sister, and I was the firstborn niece. So there you go.
Yeah.
Sonia is the firstborn granddaughter, and I'm the last in the family. So when they see Sonia, they think that we are sisters,
Mm-hmm.
But we had the most powerful influence from her, and thank God for that, because we were able to attend, tertiary institutions and so on, notwithstanding that my husband, Barry Walker, was the first in the family to set the pace to go to Howard University,
Mm-hmm.
where he was a lecturer there. And we were able to benefit, the rest of the families, nephews, and so on. And they did very well, go to medicine and all that type of thing. So she was a very, very proud person like that. And one thing she would say, all these students are my children and they belong to me, not just my relatives, but all of them belong to me. You're the parents, but they belong to me. So she just passed on everything, you know, and on her booklet here, one of my nephews designed it. He had on it as she passed on knowledge to others, not us, Shifa, and her spirit still lives through us.
Definitely.
So she was like that. She was destined, as I said.
Yeah.
And something I'd like to add, she would not tell you. Aunt Lee was a brilliant person, and you wouldn't hear it from her to say, "Well, I'm a bright person." When I say brilliant, my grandmother told me, and I guess Valerie, you heard this to remind you, that when she was accepted in Shortwood, because she did third year about 2 times and was teaching, but when she was accepted in Shortwood, we all had to go with her. My grandmother had to go with her, and they had to really announce, because they didn't send out by mail, who had passed the entrance to Shortwood. And so there were people in Kingston that were supposed to be up-to-do people. So when her name was called, somebody else answered, and they realized, no, it's not you, because my Aunt Lee had done so well on the entrance exam that I think she was top. As a matter of fact, she was really brilliant. When she went to university, I think she came first when she did the pen, that it was in the papers. Just a naturally bright person. So Donovan, so maybe she recognized brilliant. It's just that you were brilliant. But she was just a naturally brilliant person. And to see that she went to Spain to do her master's in Spanish, you know, at a later age.
Oh, she went to Spain? I didn't know that, yeah?
Oh, great. I mean, we came to school and heard the nickname Spanna. We were basically of the opinion that it was because of her prowess in Spanish that she got that name. And that's, I mean, until recently we heard something else, but all along that's what we thought, and that's what we'll maintain. But I want to add as well to, you know, I have a cousin that left Meadowbrook in probably the mid-70s. She was on the tribute thing, but she has a similar story in terms of, she said she wanted to do nursing, and she said you know, she was making all the plans to leave school, work for a little bit and get some monies together to go and do nursing. And she said Mrs. McClennon actually picked her up one day, took her in her car, she said she went to Michael, took her down to Michael, got her into school, and she went the Friday. She started school on Monday. So she did not, and then she said she didn't keep in touch with her. And when she was getting married and walking down the aisle, she didn't even know that Mrs. McClennon was invited to the wedding. Apparently her mother invited her.
Oh, okay.
And she was walking down the aisle and she just saw, you know, Mrs. McClennon, you know, reach out to her and touch her. She said she was shocked. She gave me that story, and I think it resonates with her not saying no, and she know what your potential is, and she's going to direct you properly to where she thinks you fits best. Yeah.
But it sounded like it started with her, you know, this steel reserve where, because it must have been difficult for her, a woman in Jamaica in the 50s, a black woman nevertheless. This wasn't a woman of another color. This was a black woman who was proud of being black. You could see by how she walked and everything, and it's like she never took no for an answer. She never took no for an answer from nobody at all.
No.
You see what I'm saying? It's like it must have been a challenge for her, because when I speak to other people and they're saying at the time women could not buy property without their husband name on the property.
That's true.
Right? And when I heard that, I'm saying, wow. But Miss McClennon just never took no for an answer at all. Never took no.
But let me interject a little bit here. Apart from her not taking no for an answer, Prince, she also tried to let you know that you can do anything once you set your mind to it. I can never, I'm always quoting this saying. She says, it's not whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game. And then she would say, play up, and play the game.
Play the game, right.
And I have used that constantly throughout my life. And I can always just remember how she said it. And when she said it, she basically said it with such, you believe it is possible. It's not far-fetched when she's saying it. She's not just saying something because it's something to be said. She believed it, and she made you believe it too. So that was just a remarkable thing for her. And then because of that, you don't fear. You're not fearful, because she already knew what you're capable of, and she made you believe you are capable of doing just what she said. So yeah.
And before you came on, you were just as you were trying to get your mom on and my aunt Val on. I was telling them that Aunt Lee was really ahead of her time, and I was able to let her know this because so when my mother went to England, apparently she had wanted to send for me at the time. This is my Aunt Lee's sister. And she didn't want me to go to England. And I was wondering why. Of course, I wasn't really upset, but at the same time, I thought, why didn't she allow me to go to England? But I guess one of her reasons is that going into a new country where I guess I wouldn't have been accustomed to knowing the customs, I didn't feel I was going to succeed. And when I found out she was ahead of her time, it's when I came to Canada. I didn't intend to get into teaching anyway. That wasn't really, I didn't think that was my calling. It just seemed to have happened. But during the time, I remember there were lots of Caribbean kids who were coming into the country, meeting their mothers who, or their new dads. After how many years they were accustomed to being back in the islands with relatives, and they had a very hard time adjusting. When I said these kids had a difficult time adjusting to the new family, to the country, and I said Aunt Lee was really ahead of her time, and I was able to tell her that too. I said you were ahead of your time because I wouldn't have known the difference. But seeing how these kids were having a difficult time adjusting, I realized that she knew exactly what she was doing and saying.
And Mrs. Walker, let me ask you a question. How did she feel about Meadowbrook in the early days when it just started as a brand new school? What was her impression of Meadowbrook?
It was quite a challenge for her, when she had just gone there. And let's see now. I think because it was a new school, I forget how many students started there.
I think it's about 20 something or something like that, if I remember. Yeah.
26, I think. I think it was 26.
Yeah. But it was a matter of promoting the school, giving the school a new name academically, because there are all these other schools well established and so on. So, but somehow she developed a very good relationship with community people and so on. And of course, again, through the influence of Reverend Henry Ward, because he too was the chairperson for from the school began up to when he retired.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a very influential person, wherein, students would come from all over the place and get there. But she had this strategy. It didn't matter where the student was coming from. People, were very prejudiced. And she refused no student. All she would say, bring me a desk and a chair here.
Mm-hmm.
And it so happened that one of the places where I worked here, there was an office attendant there, and somehow she learned that I was Miss McClennon's sister.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I didn't know you. I said, yes, Miss McClennon's sister. And she said, that lady, she lived in Tivoli Gardens. And Tivoli Gardens
Had a reputation, yes.
And she said, because of your sister, you know where my children are today? They are in United States, go to college and whatever it is. And right there at Meadowbrook, they would say, what she taking all them children from there to come spoil up the school and whatever. And those children were the most disciplined children. Some of them would be hungry when they come to school, and she made sure to have some little breakfast program or whatever it is so they could eat. Not only that, she planted Julie mango trees. And I said, we will smack and put all them things. And she said, good people, your children love mangoes. But the reason for that, you could go there and pick a mango. If you felt hungry or whatever it is, that was a strategy. Apart from that, she just loved to plant flowers, anything, food, whatever. And she had a beautiful Carotta garden, they call it, they say. Beautiful garden in front there. And God bless it. When I went there the other day, there was nothing. Long time, nothing, trampling, whatever.
And that's at the school, Mrs. Walker?
Right in front of the school by the almond tree there.
Yeah, by the auditorium, yes.
Yeah.
She had this beautiful garden.
Mm-hmm.
And as you enter, you say, oh, wow. And this big acacia tree there with the yellow flowers and things. And there's absolutely nothing like that, because they said they would call it Carotta. But she disappeared and everything.
I think they turned it into an area for the students to sit and they put a little table under there. So it's almost like they can have time, me time. They can bonding time right under the same the tree.
Better place in the garden.
The garden, yes, I know. You see, especially because the campus has become so, so many children have come in and the space-wise, you're not able to keep that, because again, they would sit and have lunch there, so they're still having a lot of bonding time under there, even though the garden is missing. But there's one thing I wanted to ask you, Miss Walker. You mentioned something about she planted trees because children could pick, but when we listened to a couple of the podcasts, and I don't know if Prince remembers this, Helen was saying that they were forbidden to pick anything off the trees. If the mango fell, they could pick it up, but they were not able to pick it. So that part, I just wanted to put in there. So they would pick up the coolie plum and the mangoes, but they couldn't pick it off the tree.
Yeah, the podcast that came out yesterday, Miss Francis talk, Eileen Francis, she went to school 1961 to 1967. Her podcast came out, you see. That's the one I sent to Carol.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Right.
I have something. Could that be for the ladies though? That the ladies were not, young ladies were not allowed to.
You,
Yeah. Because I think she was specific.
right. I think
She
You're
was
right. You're right,
specific that the
Dante.
ladies were not supposed to be doing it. Because I mean, I benefited from the jewelry tree immensely.
No, that is that. No, that is that, Dante. I can't see why she wouldn't want the ladies climbing up the mango tree in that dressing.
Yeah, I know she was a tickler for the ladies,
Protecting
keeping a
their
certain
dignity.
decorum.
She didn't want the ladies
Yeah.
climb up in the mango tree with the boys at
So
the
it
bottom.
could be that.
Exactly.
But also, maybe we used to pick the mangoes green or pick, because I know as kids we would always pick green mango and put salt.
Yeah,
So maybe they would take it off before it was ripe.
But-
So I think that's
but-
part of the problem too.
But I tell you what, where she lived, that cool shade, is a famous black mango tree.
Okay.
And she would take boxes, baskets to school,
Cool.
and even to the church. You know, the church, of course, was next door to it, Meadowbrook United Church.
Yeah.
But everybody knew 6 cool shade for that mango tree.
Yeah.
Sweet.
We benefited
But
from ministers to teachers to name it.
yeah, she was give it. But let me ask you a question, Carol. Because and Christopher Cheddar, and I don't know if you remember him.
Yes.
Christopher.
Christopher, was that Chana? No.
Not Chana. Chana, but Chana.
Yeah, the writer is Chana.
Yeah.
Okay, Christopher Cheddar. The name's familiar. It sounds like it may be.
Yeah.
Go ahead and ask the question.
King's Counsel.
He played cricket, but he was in charge of the child court. What the name? Children's court in Jamaica before he migrated.
Yeah.
But he said to me because he and I talk all this time, and he played on a cricket team, and it is his opinion that it was because Miss McClennon was in charge of the school at the time we won some trophy at Meadowbrook in the 90s. I call it the golden years. Because we won 7 trophies as a year in the introduction between 1982 and 1986, and those were the years Miss McClennon was principal of the school. And it is his opinion, and I agree with him, that it was because of Miss McClennon's support. And I didn't know that she loved cricket so much. Until I spoke to you, right? Because of her support for not just the cricket team, but for everybody, and especially the team. And she wasn't partial to nobody at all, no matter where you come from. She's going to give you a chance. And you were there at the time she became principal. Because she became principal, I think, 1978. Right? I wanted to know how you felt and how you think she felt when she rose to become in charge of the school. That was her baby then. She created that school, you know. How she felt when she finally became principal. From your, and then Sonia and then Mrs. Walker can answer. But you go first, Carol.
Okay. I think that she saw it as an extension of herself, and that this was just a natural development that was already in the making from the time that she got there. And she had this great, I think, from what I saw, a great sense of humility to serve in that position, and did not take it for granted and did not take it lightly at all. She, in her own way, showed how proud she was to the teachers that were brought in. She was very, very protective of the young ladies that were there, making sure that the male teachers were very respectful. I saw that for myself, and also that the female teachers presented themselves well, because she saw the teachers as an living example of what the young women should be like. And so she was very, from what I remember, was extremely proud. And sometimes she would, they would bring in her, I can't remember the lady's name, but they would bring in her afternoon tea. The best sandwiches, the best cakes, everything. They would have her afternoon tea. And Aunt Lee would go like that and call me in.
A secret stash, yes.
yes. And she would point to the corner of the room, and Prince, I got dog boy. I remember.
Yeah.
And she was just so proud of Mrs. Senior, but there was another lady whose name escapes me. It'll come back to me, that she would rely on to make her afternoon tea, and my aunt would just share her meal with me. So that's what I remember. Her extremely proud, but extremely humbled by the fact that she was the principal for so many lives.
Yeah, and I know the name I call him because her son was on the podcast about 2 weeks ago, Christopher Senior. Bye-bye. I don't know if you remember him. Yes, right. Mr. Senior, yeah. Because they were part, that's exactly right. They were part of the auxiliary staff, as you call it, back then. I don't know what they call it now.
Yeah.
Support.
I have a follow-up question. Sorry, you can go ahead. You
go ahead, Mrs. Walker. You're about to speak. You go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was remember now that most of the principals were male, you know.
Right.
And she was the first female in the co-head institution.
That I didn't want to. That is some record again.
Godshaw was the person who was holding on. Miss Godshaw?
Yeah.
Yes.
She was the one holding on until when the school started, until they got all these male principals. So she really broke the tradition of the males.
She broke the glass ceiling, as I say, yeah.
Female principal.
You know, that's basically in line with the question I was going to ask, because through discussions with even some of the first set, because I'm in touch with a lot of the earlier students, some of the students that went there in the 60s and so on. And also from my knowledge of the history, I am aware that there was a kind of reservation about appointing her as the principal, because my understanding is that she was due to become the principal before, and there was some reservation. I just want to know how did she handle that?
I can tell you this. She has faced a lot of challenges in her life, right? Because I would put in quotes envy for her intellectual,
Red eye, we call it, Mrs. Walker, red eye.
I love it. You want to put it in the layman's terms, right, Prince?
Yes.
Sonia mentioned about college, right? After she passed, in those days you do first, second, third examination, right? And she was accepted to Chartwood College, right? She had to go in. Mom took her for the entrance and so on. And actually, her name was first. She was like an exhibition of whatever it is. And they called her name, but somebody else went up. Yeah. Somebody else went up, answered to her name, and she sat there and, was listening for her name because she didn't hear her name. And it was when finally now they said, all right, over here and whatever it is. And they said, you are that. And then this person, whoever it was, what are you doing here? You're not Carotta. Your answer, that's not Carotta, because she had pictures and whatever. And then she said, so where's Carotta? And she said, here I am. And she went up. She came first in whatever. That's one thing. The other thing, after she finished college, she didn't stop there, but she took her London, what you call high schools then,
Mm-hmm.
continued her studies.
A levels, yeah.
That was even before the university.
A levels, high school.
And the university would not accept the teacher's certificate, to go there because she was a primary school teacher. Anyway, we had what we call inspectors of schools. Those were education officers, right? We call them education officers now, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So when she applied to go to the University of the West Indies after she was teaching for probably a good 10 years, Sonia.
About 10 years. Mm-hmm.
And she applied to go there. Remember now, she had higher schools, she had her teachers there. And they turned it down. They're not accepting elementary school teachers. Not just that. 2 of the education officers gave her A, excellent. And 1 of them gave her a downgrade. Like we said, 2 A's, that. And they couldn't understand how come she was not accepted or whatever it is. And then they went and looked up the records and saw where one of the education officers or inspectors downgraded her.
How did she take that?
Huh?
How did she take that?
Oh, she was so disappointed. The education officers took that up. Yeah? I don't know what they did, because the ministry had already had her records, everything. So they told her to apply the other year. And she applied the other year. They put back the same records, whatever it is, same recommendations, except for whatever. Got into the university as the first, I would think, primary school teacher to have gone there. Not because she went to Shortwood Teachers College, but because they were accepting high school with whatever it is. Well, I think they have changed that now, right? She did exceptionally well, and you had Professor Figaro and Hector Winter. They used her there as their assistants, and when they're gone on tour for cricket or they have to go and leave, she was the one in charge of their class. That's how she was highly, rated as a teacher from those years. And from then, of course, she held, and she went to Meadowbrook High School, and until she became a principal. And as the young lady Nadine said, there's a lot of challenges there for her, because from long ago she should have been the principal, right? And I would add this also, that she was recommended for national honors twice. And she was told whatever. And when the lady was looking for the official whatever it is, it was not there twice, 2 different years. The national, the ODs and the whatever.
Yeah.
And that was, we discovered after, because it so happened that I was working in one of the highest offices here. And just by chance, I discovered what they were doing. When these lists, coming, they would cross off certain person's name and put who they wanted.
Or a favor.
What do you call it? Honors or whatever. She
Big
was
time Corey Saver, Sonia. Big time.
Yes.
no, she
Sorry.
was a detective, but she said whatever will be. And we said, don't you worry about it. You have made your name already. Another thing too, she got along very well with the PTA and all students too. And she was able to build 6 classrooms at
Yes.
Meadowbrook High School there
Yes.
without any aid from government or whatever, but
Yes.
she from relatives, parents, whatever it is. There's a block there, 6 classrooms, but it should have been named. I don't know if they have done that, the McLennan's block or whatever it is. But we have to look at it this way because we have to overcome all those challenges. Huh? All
Yeah.
because you're pushing ahead, doing good. Some people just don't like that. But she was the type, regardless of the obstacle, whatever, she was always going ahead. And that's one thing our mother and herself instilled us. Go, go, don't stop. Go to the stars. And they pass it down from one generation to the other. And where all the other relatives, friends, and whatever it is, they would pass through my mother's house to her house to become very good citizens, academically and otherwise. So we are very grateful for her. And also, as I said, I'm very grateful for you all to recognize the goodness and the goodwill in my sister because she meant well for everybody and she wanted them to excel and to go as far as they could go.
No, when that when
Sir,
We all felt that, Miss Walker. We
I,
all felt that
for a
she
second,
I
let me
want
wanted
and I
just.
will
us
make
to
you come
know.
in,
She
Sonia. But
literally, yeah.
yeah, go ahead, Nadine, finish up. I want to say something, but go ahead.
No, thanks. She literally, to me, I don't know if I can put it this way. She literally lifted us up. She literally kind of put us on her shoulders.
Mhm.
Understand? This is where you talk about the wind beneath our wings. You understand? A lot of us would not have flown the way we have flown, if it was not for her. And I remember, I think in all my years at Meadowbrook, I think I may have been called to her office, I think once. And I listened to her and I saw how she dealt with us. We had a fundraiser well, it wasn't at the school, but it was by the psychology club. And the fundraiser was going to be held at Almond Tree Club off Riddles Road. It's near, and it's at Plaza just before you get to Lasco when you leave Calabar and going up.
Mhm.
I remember it was not well attended. It was not a success, I should say. And a few of us were there with the musicians, myself, and I remember another Jackie. I think her father owned the plaza. I know Oswald Barrett and a couple other students. We were there waiting for people to come to the Saturday night. And after about an hour or so, we realized that nobody's going to turn up. Of course, this got went back to Miss McClennon. And of course, we were at her office Monday morning, bright and early. We were called to her office. I trembled the whole way to the office. I did not know, Miss McClennon did not know the psychology club was having that fundraiser. And I thought, this is it. No, I've heard about caning. I've heard about all of those things. And I know how we feared Miss McKenna because, as we affectionately called her, Spanna, which we later come to realize they were saying because she was such a disciplinarian. At first, we thought it was Spanish, but it was because she was such a disciplinarian. I quivered in my boots standing in front of her that day. And I remember she talked to us like a mother would. And I came to realize that she really loved us as her children. That was the day I think I was in lower six then. And I've never had to really face her in such a manner before. But that quivering was dispelled. And we went home, got our parents, and of course we had to come back to school. But it was like she lifted us up. She lifted us up. And even through that situation, I thought I was going to be, what, sent out, sent home, whatever it is. But again, like a mother hen, she lifted us up. So I really thank her. And I can't get enough of saying how grateful each and every one of us that passed through the gates of Meadowbrook High School is. So
And I want to say this.
to share that.
I want to say this, Nadine, and I'm glad Mrs. Walker and Carol and Sonia are here to talk about Miss McClennon because, and I want you to answer this to me because just listen to the story now. We're not going to forget her. Because of this conversation, we're going to make sure. We're going to get our OM. Out of Meadowbrook. It's
Yes,
better than this.
yes.
They might not honor it, but we.
I will just.
We have been in discussion also. Again, it came up in the Meadowbrook Memories, Prince. We have been in discussion to try and to get that building named after her.
After her, right?
Yeah,
After her. So
well,
I think the building you're referring to is that the 3-story block. Is that the one you're referring to?
No, not the 3-story block. It's the one where the beside the library. Those classrooms that were built in the early 80s beside the library. You're familiar with those, Nadine?
Beside the library?
Yeah, beside the library. There are a set of classrooms that are right there.
Yeah, but all that
it doesn't matter.
All that will have good, Nadine.
We're actually working on that.
Yeah, man, I'm glad for that. But
stay tuned.
My vision bigger than that, you know. My OM bigger than that. Me want because just listen to Mrs. Walker talk about her sister, you know. Mm-hmm. And all the fight where she get, as we are saying, in the common parlance. I will if a fight Spanna get, you know. And she never lose her class.
No.
Yeah.
She never. When me know her, whenever you hear her complain and I say, boy, them fight me become me a woman or become a black. You wouldn't get that at all. It's a woman of substance. So what may I say? What may I think about her? No, she larger than life, you know.
Yes, and also we're actually working on that part of it too. Prince, you might have just given us the name for it, the name of what we were trying to really put it together and what name. Mm-hmm. So you might have just contributed to that name, Prince, with what we just said. So trust me, it's stay tuned. It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, man. Because
I'd like to say that,
and I hope Miss Walker will be there to be able to, and all of you will be there to get it.
I hope so.
Yeah. At one point. Sorry, go ahead.
Just a little follow up with Nadine too. Sonia disappeared a little.
Sonia might be cooking, that's why.
I'm here. Let's get some water.
You're not cooking, Sonia?
Sonia, I went to the archives as usual, you know. Mm-hmm. And at her Thanksgiving, Sonia did some inner thoughts. And with that, she reminded about Aunt Lee and her motto and her proverbs and so on. And some of what you're saying there, Nadine, one of them, it is easier to pull down than to build. And also, let us arise and build. Excellence and nothing else. Let us arise, continue her work to build. Right.
Amen.
On what you
that was her motto. Yes.
And never, and in fact,
it's easier to.
Mother taught us. She says, information is important, and she taught us to store things. She told us stories about when she went to school, or her generation and whatever, and we must always pass it on. And because of that, my sister, she kept a lot of records, a lot of writing, And I found myself some, I would say, a multi-disciplined person. And I have still all her writings and all that type of thing. And I find the same thing. And as Marie witnessed the other day, her birthday, I had her birthday book from she was months right back to an old age now with everything in it. So I like to research these things, have my archives, up to date and so on. And
Those
so
writings,
I've never believed it that I had the same little piece of paper that you had then.
those
So
writings would be very influential to us now.
Get those right.
and she said to me, I said, but why are you, so unhappy? Because she says, if I'm not teaching, I don't feel well. And she must go because she has to teach. It was in her blood, and she was married to teaching. Married to
And
teaching.
I'll add to that because
Person when she passed on that way, happy teaching. So I said, well, I suppose she's still teaching wherever she is.
Yeah.
and I must say, all her nieces, including myself, have seen traits of Aunt Lee in Carol, in Inger, Monica, in Maisie. All the traits are there. And what is so uncanny? What's so uncanny about the whole thing? It's sometimes I say to myself, "What's going on here?" Although I'm a retired school principal, I get called back in, and I know my son says, "No, but you're retired, you can go." But the thing about it is that, and I know I need to stop. I go back because they are in need of folks because principals do get sick and everything. And I'm in a school now, and they're begging me to come back in January. I said, no, I have to step back. But I was just saying, I said, I can't believe, is this my aunt in me still? I'm at school, and these kids don't know me. And this was on today is Saturday. It was on Wednesday. I've been in the school Tuesday, and one of the teachers was telling me about this child who was very, very disrespectful to her. And she said, you want to talk to him? I said, yes, I'll talk to him. It's a white, he's a white teacher too. And after he was sort of casual and sort of really disrespecting the teacher. And I said to him, you know what I'd like you to do? I said, I could see you can be respectful. I want you to write a letter, an apology. And the teacher was saying, if you don't mean it, don't write. I said, no, I want you to write it. And you let me see it the next morning. I'll be here. And so I went to his class. He did the letter, showed it to me, and I said, okay, I'm going to take you to the teacher, and you're going to have to let her know. Read this letter to her, and from your heart, you need to apologize and let her know. That little boy, when he was finished, said to me, you're a good principal. No, he said to me, you are a good principal. And what it is, as people say, is that I may go into the schools, I don't know the kids, but I'm firm, but I'm also kind. They see something in me that I can't explain it, really. And I'm saying, this is my aunt. There's no doubt about it.
That is
There's no doubt.
I do. Oh, I'm sorry, Mo. Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
And I'm very glad, that my children, are aware. Sonia too. But I wasn't the one who told my children, Inger, Anne Marie, and Howard, or Sonia. When I was 7 years old, we went to a Sunday school, what do you call it, retreat? And they had this sports day. And Dr. Herbert Swaby, who was in charge, he said, we'll now do a race. Anybody interested to do this raid, come on the line. And I went on the line. And who are on the line? I was about 7, but you had big girls, 15, 14, 12 years old, whatever it is. And then my sister, LeeAnna, she saw me on the line with this, and she pulled me out of the line. How can you go in there with all those? So I came out the line. So when Reverend Swaby came, he said, "Where's the little girl? Where's the little girl? What's this?" Where am I, sir? Get back. Come on. Do you want to run this road? I said, yes, sir. And I stood there, and my sister. So he said, look, there is a pole way over there. Run as fast as you can to catch that pole. Now the pole was nowhere on the field, it was way over. And then he said, remember now he did. Remember, run as fast as you can. And when this is ready, steady, go. I took off and I ran. And I heard somebody on the school, the little black stallion, the little black I didn't know I'd won the race. But and he said, this is the little girl you said would not run the race. Mm-hmm. And my sister, she hugged me, she held me, and whatever. And for some reason, that hug was saying to me, whatever it is, you will win your race. Mm-hmm. And amen. It brought this determination from I was a little girl then, going back to school, and I went to high school, and nobody could ever beat me in the race. I went to champs. Oh, yeah. Of course, I did not continue because, I went higher education, things like that. But this is the kind of push, she would give you, and she encouraged you, whatever, and she watched you grow. Yeah. And in her way, people did not understand her, but she meant good for everybody in every respect. Mm-hmm. She was very stern and a little harsh, but after that, she's as soft and tender as everybody.
I just want to interject here about that. I remember sitting my O levels at the time. And I was studying because I felt I wanted to do well for myself, but I also wanted to do well for my parents and Aunt Lee, because she was the headmistress at the time. And I studied. I remember I'd get up and study, and oh my goodness. And I said, okay, I sat the exams, and I was like, okay, whatever happens, happens. I put my all out there. Now, Aunt Lee had the back door to get in to find out how, if you passed and how well you did. She had the connections. She had the connections.
She had all the connections, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if she called my mom first or if she called me first. But Aunt Lee got on the phone with me and said, Anne-Marie? So I'm like, oh God, that's what they call me, Anne-Marie, because that's my family calls me that. Anne-Marie, I have the results. And so I'm like, oh God, this isn't starting well at all. And then she said, 2 distinctions, 2 credits, 2 passes. And I was just like, oh my, and I had to wait to find out if it was okay with her. Forget about me and what I'm thinking. I had to find out if this met my Aunt Lee's standards. Mm-hmm. And when I got confirmation that it met her standards, I was like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. I would never hear the end of it. But Aunt Lee was so proud of me, and she just, hugged me and let me know that the work was worth it, and that I can do anything that I wanted to do. And I remember that even then she had this a routine where she would sometimes, if we didn't walk to her house, because there was no direct bus route to home, we would just stop at my aunt's house, and then my mom would collect us and drive. We just complete the ride home. So we would stay at my aunt's, a lot until my mom was off of work. But what my Aunt Lee would do was that she would sit with us. We would have dinner together. She would talk. We'll have conversations. She would then go and rest for about 45 minutes to an hour. And then she would get back up and leave and go back to Meadowbrook to supervise the afternoon shift. And I was like, Aunt Lee, why are you going? Because sometimes she said, oh, I'm so exhausted. And Inger and I, my sister, would say, why are you going, Auntie? Stay, lay down. You're tired, stay. Aunt Lee said, no, I have to make sure that the children are okay. And drive back to Meadowbrook, stay for about an hour and a half or 2 hours, and then come back, park. And by the time she came back, my mother, was at the gate ready to, pick us up. But I say all that to say that my aunt, when she had made up her mind that these are her children and this is her responsibility, she would do everything on the field to make sure, even when children did not appreciate the care and the time that she put into making sure that they were okay, that it was, and she was okay with that, because she understood that they're not going to understand the ramifications of a person who's going to care and the ramifications of a caregiver. They don't understand that, or the responsibilities, rather, of a caregiver. But later on, they would get it. They would understand. I'm going to say one more thing. She also had a thing about not allowing too many vendors in front of Meadowbrook. She wanted to make sure that it was not a marketplace where people would make merchandise of the children and take their when I mean take their money, I mean like, having things, you want to buy this, you want to buy that. She was very, very, very careful of that. And I remember her specifically saying, the only person that is going to stay here, that has been here from the very beginning, is Pecker. Pecker has earned his way here. He is always going to have a place here until he decides he's going to leave. But everybody else, out. And she got rid of, from, as my mother would say, from Dan to Bathsheba. She got rid of all of them. And Pecker remained, because she said that nobody was going to come into, while she was at her watch, take advantage of the students, period. So she cared even when they didn't realize how much she cared, and didn't agree with all the decisions that she made. But the decisions were because she cared enough to protect them, even though they didn't understand it. So that's my contribution. But I wanted to say that I am a little bit behind schedule and everything, and I have to jump off. And so I'm going to leave it in the capable hands of my cousin and my mom. But if there's any other thing that you need, please let me know. I'm in Jamaica often. And if anything I can do to assist and help with the archives, I'm willing to do that.
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah,
You'll be hearing from us. Definitely, Carol.
Definitely, Carol, because I want to get the pictures of her. Send them to me by, you work it out, email, text, WhatsApp.
Yes.
That I can use. Because this podcast, as I said, went out at number 100, because it's special to me. And it's special for her as well, because as I say, we're going to bigger up more and more these days, because I didn't realize it back. So send me the pictures, because it's coming out as the 100th episode in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So send me the pictures as
soon
as you can.
We'll be hearing from us, Carol.
Okay, very good. All right, so you guys have a good evening.
Man, and thanks for facilitating this, Carol. Thanks for allowing this up. Thank you.
Mom, I'm leaving you on. Mom, I'm leaving you and Sonia on until they've wrapped up. I just have to go because I had a hard stop and I have to go. All right, so take care, everybody.
Take care, Carl.
I was about to
Happy holidays.
because I have another.
Okay, you have other things. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
man. Yeah. What let me ask a couple of questions before you and Sonia go, Mrs. Walker. Where did Miss McClennon get the love of cricket?
We're, listen, I don't know, but we had been even to look for Reverend Ward here when he was ill. And he was asking about Meadowbrook and the cricket. That's a time I knew she was interested. And then my husband is just a cricket fanatic. And when West Indies playing and sing, you should hear them on the phone. And so, well, Sabina Park didn't miss them, or, they would listen to the radio and sing. But I really don't know where I think it was more, they played a lot at Water Valley School.
Okay. Okay, a lot of cricket in St. Mary.
Perhaps. And also in those days, on the sugar estates like grazing and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they do play, but they had cricket teams. Also, I can remember small girl, she was teaching then. The Teachers Association in St. Mary, they used to have cricket matches, against the parishes, because I remember at one time they even went to St. Thomas to play in St. Thomas. And I used to, she used to take me along sometimes, but and in Port Maria too, different places all over, And she was a cricket fan and she understood all about it. But the other thing, she loved cricket, but I tell you, she has a beautiful soprano voice.
Yes, like her mother, like my grandmother. Yeah.
Songbird. She was one of the lead persons in the church, and she had a fine repertoire. And my sister got all that from her. And
you too, and you have become that singer.
Member all of the choir at Meadowbrook, and prior to that, when she was at Salem. So
Wow.
she sings beautifully.
That's a little
Yes.
that's a little secret. She never let us know at Meadowbrook. I didn't know that.
No, man, we heard her.
You heard her singing? Okay.
Yes, we heard her.
You would
And when she would sing in Spanish.
Professional singers, and he's always singing. Mom is always singing and cheerful and the type of songs that she took from Mom. Very, good singer, I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
And when she sang in Spanish, it was beautiful.
And one of her favorites, because I didn't even.
That when I was a child, she was teaching herself Spanish.
Which song was that, Sonia?
That same one you're singing. When I was a child, she taught me that too, and she was teaching herself Spanish. This is interesting. She told herself, and I remember that.
And
I didn't learn Spanish. I did French instead.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you remind me. I have a question I wanted to ask you, Sonia. Where did she get the love of Spanish?
It's interesting. I don't know, because as a child, she was speaking Spanish to me, teaching me Spanish songs. And that's when she did her high school. When I say she was just gifted. I have no idea where she got that from.
The thing about it, you see,
yes,
we had on my mother's side, we had grand aunts and so on who lived in Costa Rica.
Okay.
And in Panama and in Cuba. And even on the other side too. And because I used to say, what foolishness they're talking about. But I think it was like, Aunt Connie, the grand aunts.
Yeah.
Those people, they used to speak to each other, just like how the Chinese would meet
Mm-hmm.
at times and they would speak Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
That is how they used, I can remember, because we used to say, oh, and they used to talk like a thing in Spanish, and I didn't understand, and they used to laugh and sing. And then we had a lot of Spanish records. You know, we had this big, tall gramophone. Oh, Sonia, your thing, your favorite Spanish one was which one? Amamale.
Yeah.
Amamale.
I
And
remember.
mine was Capali, right? And we never have the foggiest idea.
But by the way, let me ask you something. Could you pick up?
And sing in Spanish. But she caught it from, you know, grand aunts and those kind of people.
And let me ask a question. I know you guys in St. Mary. Were you able to pick up a Cuban radio station from St. Mary?
I think, let me see. It was what, ZQI? And was there a Spanish thing, Sonia?
I don't remember. I have no idea if there's a Spanish station. There may have been.
Yeah, I mean, quite possible being on the North Coast, and I mean, Cuba is not of us.
It could be, yes.
But I think it was more from the, you know, relatives.
Yeah.
Yes, the relatives.
They used to speak Spanish. And some of it was more what you call the pigeon, or what kind of thing?
Dialect.
I remember my mother was saying, "Oh, Peter, that is father. He knows Spanish because he had traveled, you know, to Panama and what it is." And when she was speaking or starting Spanish, she said, "You speak with Dada and see." And when Dada was speaking to her, she said that's like she said that pigeon, or it's
like a patois. Yeah, patois
yes.
Spanish. Yeah.
Yeah. But she had also, you know, she went to Lord, which little Spanish place, and she actually learned the patois Spanish too.
The Puerto Rico. Yeah.
But is you Sonia said she learned, she went to Spain to learn her Spanish?
No, she was in Puerto Rico first. She had gone to Puerto Rico. And then she was well, after she was accomplished, she did her master's in Spanish in Mexico. Yeah.
Okay. And did her thesis in Spanish.
Okay. And I learned later on that these Spanish is like English. You have different dialects of Spanish.
Oh yes.
Just like we have different dialects of English, right? Right. I learned later on from my Argentinian friends. It's like it's a different way to speak in Argentina.
Yeah.
Well, it's like French because I learned French, and you see Haiti have
a different dialect, right.
And Quebec here in Canada, they have their different way than in France.
Yeah. But let me ask a question though, because I know both of you say you have things to do. Let me ask a couple more questions. Was Miss McClennon the oldest of the siblings?
Oldest.
Yes.
And of how many?
She was the oldest of 7.
Of 7. How many boys and how many girls?
2 boys and 5 girls.
There were 3 boys, but 1 died.
1 died, okay. And she sounded like being the oldest. She ruled it like a queen.
Yes. I'm just, when I looked back at it, you know, again, my mother was a very smart person. She said she lost her parents at an early age when she was like about 12. So it was like her grand aunt and whatever. And she said she always liked a big family, whatever. But what she did, whatever values she had, she passed it on to the eldest child. And she would say, look, you are to let the others know and behave in that way and so on. So from an early age, you know, it is like she was groomed to be a second mother. And she said, I'm going to educate this girl because of the potential and she wants her to be a teacher. So she sent her, although school was like 2 miles away, that particular school. And we had another one that Reverend Ward was in charge of, a few chains from home. She liked the model of Water Valley School because of what they offered, because that was like a high school in those days. And this teacher, Miss Olive Stewart, a very disciplined person too, and then Reverend Ward, his man's, was on the hill and the school was down. So he had control over teachers, school, everybody. They boarded her with the headmistress of the school, Miss Stewart. And so were other children there. And this lady was a disciplinarian too, and was one who all her students would excel there. So at an early age, from home to school, and weekends she would come home or whatever it is, she had that kind of way about her, and I don't know, sometimes she would must say a practice teacher us or whatever. Don't you, and that type of thing. So it was just the environment she was in,
Yeah.
at school and at home. Why it shaped her in that way.
But
And I said I think she was a destined
yeah.
From
morning.
Was
What she would do with me also, when I went to my grandparents from holidays and when I got back, and then she would do this with all her nieces and nephews if you ever in her presence. She would, and I never liked it, but I understood why. This later on, I understood why she did it. She had said, okay, now before you go to school, you have to write a little composition about how you spent your time and where you spent it. And she would be correcting it too, So you just couldn't write any old foolishness. You had to highlight where you were, what you did, what things you did. And really that was something you did at the end of every holiday. You had to highlight what it is you did, and you had to write that composition, and she would correct it too. So that she was never, and she sort of had you sort of brought you back up to the level of where you should be, because over holidays, you're running around. It allows that freedom, but you had to come back and really get yourself ready for school. That's how she.
And I tell you what she did. When I was in elementary school, before I went to high school, she got one of those exercise books, King George V on top of it. And the first page was exercise book, they call it. To all things noble and true and good, I dedicate this book. I have it still. And all the little memory gems were in that book that I knew I had to write it there. Or if I read a little magazine or whatever it is, and she would let me cut out, what did you read? And I told her, and I would cut it out and whatever. And when I looked back at that book, I said, oh my God, this lady, she dared me. It's my life. And the poems that were in there and the songs that I would sing, they were all excelsior, the highest standards and things. And I said, up to now I have it. And I could quote from it, at her thanks. It was really a Thanksgiving service. I could quote everything. She really shaped us, trust me. And my mother, she was just sit back and show it.
And one last thing before I leave, even though I went to St. Jago, she still monitored me that there, even though she wasn't on staff there, she made sure that everything was shipshape, because I recall the vice principal at the time, or the headmistress, Mrs. Bent, when I was about to do at the time it was senior king, it was just before GCO level, before the O levels, and we had this mock. We had to do these mock exams. I don't think I did that well on the mock exam. And I think when they went to conference as to whether I should go ahead and do the exam, I think Mrs. Bent advocated for me, because she said, I don't know, someone told me that they heard Mrs. Bent saying, Sonia has an aunt who is excellent, and she will take over. She's going to do this exam no matter what. So she had that influence even at St. Jago. So she was able to advocate. She said, well, Sonia, you're going to sit this exam. Maybe she had a bad time whatever when we were doing the mock exam.
Yeah, influence.
She advocated for me just the same.
Yeah, her influence.
And she had an eye out for me.
Yeah, her influence seemed to have spanned all over Jamaica. She knew somebody everywhere.
Exactly.
That's how powerful she was. But
may I ask if Water Valley School is still around, or is there a new name?
Yes, it is still around.
Okay.
It is not the same as it used to be, but it is still there, and the church is still there. And as I say, tomorrow they will be having this, what you call it?
150th anniversary, you said.
Yes, right there.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the name was changed. Okay.
No. It is Water Valley. They used to call it Salem School.
Okay.
But it is really Water Valley. The name of it. I think I can. Let's see. Water Valley School. This is what Water Valley School looks like. Can you see?
No, hold it up to your face, Mrs. Walker. Yeah. Go back. Hold it up, yeah. And I'll ask Carol to send these to me. I'll hold it to the right. We're not seeing it.
The other way.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Okay, bring it on your phone. Okay, yeah. Okay, we can see it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we'll ask Carol to definitely send us those pictures, because I will post them when the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. But let me ask a last question before I ask a closing remark from both of you. It's like, how does it? Let me phrase the question this way. Did you realize that you would have had the influence that you had? And you take this one for Sonia. Did you realize the impact that fought almost 30 years after she died? We at Meadowbrook still talking about it.
This is surprising. I didn't realize. I know just shortly after, she had that influence, I knew, among other people who have had the Meadowbrook alumni, but not realizing that after 30 years. And I really applaud you, and really, I'm just saying, wow. And it goes to show, what years were you there, Glacier?
I was there 82 to 86. I was the one who...
Oh, the same as Nadine.
Yeah. I was the one who captained the cricket team that won Meadowbrook for the first time.
Yes.
I presented her that trophy, yeah.
I'm really very...
79 to 86. I was 79
I'm really very touched, because sometimes it just proves that it's in your sometimes older years that you can look back and see the impact other people have had. But the fact that you're able to do this, and of course in this medium, which didn't exist then, I am really touched. I'm really touched by it. It brought tears to my eyes when you're doing this. I really commend you. And I don't know what it is that inspired you to do this now at this stage.
That's a good question, but it is an inspiration. Let me answer that. Maybe it's Miss McClennon an inspiration, but yes, it is.
Wonderful.
It is that,
how many years?
No, it's let me put this in a sense. It isn't. I'm going to tell you what inspired me. And Dante on the line here. When I went to Jamaica in 2016, we had one sunlight in 1982. First time in Meadowbrook history, like how Miss McClennon created a wood for each at Meadowbrook. And up to 2016, I went down for my mother's funeral. And nobody was talking about what we had done for the school. It's almost like it was going in a black hole, just like Miss McClennon's memory. And I have to say, if you use the Jamaican word, me did vex. Me I say, our school and our teams, and I know one time we win, a 7 time we win Wally trophy. I produced Rhodes Scholars and everything. And me I said, come like, nobody no want to talk about this. And I had a friend who said to me, say, boy, Glester, if you not do it, nobody else not gonna do it, you know, because you know the story. I mean, I think, and so when I went down and Dante presented me with a trophy for the team, I said, boy, I don't remember it. And I said, yeah, and I tell him what I remember. I said, boy, I want to talk about this, you know. And my idea was to just talk about the cricketers and the footballers them win. And me, I think, so I know me that don't talk. I realize, everybody want to come tell them Meadowbrook Memories because it was so good. It was so good for most of us. As Nadine had said to me, say, Meadowbrook are like our Hotel California. You can check out anytime, but you can't leave Meadowbrook.
Well, Nadine, I have found your
That's Nadine. You saw the pictures.
I've found you.
Nadine, that's you?
I can't see it. Move it to your right. Move it the other way.
Move it the other way, yes. And hold it up high.
Oh, yeah, that's Nadine, yes, I think so. To the right.
I can't.
I see.
Yeah, Nadine, that's you. I'm
more
seeing
Nadine,
it,
yeah, I see it too, yeah.
It's the other one. Right.
Okay.
So that's you.
Okay.
That's you.
All
Wow.
right.
I see you.
I'm going to say what Nadine ambition to build a sea world at Meadowbrook. That was how it ended. To build a sea world
Okay.
at Meadowbrook.
Yeah.
Right?
Who wrote that?
You, Nadine.
You have to go find, you have to get the book, copy of the book, Nadine. You have to read to get copies. And we...
No,
I know you can't. You don't realize what you write to.
And John.
Mrs. Walker, I thank you for that memory, and I would look forward to get that one. But there's a story behind that, and I know you don't have time, but I just remember the story behind the Sea World, as they said, was because of a certain nickname that I was given by a certain head girl. And that's where that came from. Prince, you know exactly who I'm talking, your head girl. So late Saffron Ramsey,
yeah,
my very good friend, gave me a nickname, and that is exactly where that
came from. Okay.
came from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Wow.
So the question for you to Mrs. Walker, did you realize the impact that your sister would have had on us 30 years later?
I am not too surprised, but surprised because I have not really heard anyone who has done or say, I can't remember hearing anyone really acknowledging in this fashion the influence or the impact she has had on them. And as Sonia says, it brings a little nostalgia because that lady dedicated all, I would think, her teaching years to Meadowbrook. And as someone said, I think it was Barrett, she was the one who called me and she inquired from someone she could, and then her aunt, she asked her aunt, she wanted a relative. And the aunt said, but her sister is right. And she gave her the number and called me. And she said, Miss McClennon did not get what she deserved. And we are trying to see how, because she was a very good person and what she did, and So it is true. And for you all to recognize the worth of this great lady. She was a great person.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yes, it
You
truly was.
I wish, Sonia, I was saying, I wish this, what has happened here, it would have been, others would have known about it. Who should have known? Meadowbrook, right? And should have known about all this. Because I think it shows you the mind and the appreciation of people, who they are and what we have become, and who was responsible for all of, not just relatives, but look, as she says, you all belong to me, you're all my children. And she devoted her life to teaching. Because many a times people would ask her, oh, so why you're not getting married? Or, she was approached in take my hand. And she says, no, if I do that, that's going to prevent me from pursuing what I want to. And they thought she was selfish. She said, no, I just love teaching and I'm dedicated to teaching. And teaching was her family. So again, I would say, for you all to have thought of this is a fantastic idea, and we really appreciate it. And as I say, Sonia, I'm so sorry too that this did not occur at, like, say, one of our family reunions, and to have this as a part of it. It would have been so very nice,
Well, they're going,
And
they're going to
you'll
get
be able to get the
they'll get a
taping, right,
copy.
Prince?
Yeah, man, they'll
You
get a
get a
copy.
copy so you can share it.
Yeah, man, they'll get it now, Mrs. Walker. Don't worry.
All right.
The whole world will hear it, This great lady. That's the purpose of this conversation. That's why I'm doing it today. The whole world will hear this now. So don't worry about that.
Wonderful.
We're gonna bigger up. We're gonna bigger up what to say.
Great promoter. Yes, great promoter.
Some are already gone, but some are retired.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And then I'm more importantly, Sonia and Mrs. Walker, you want the younger ones to hear the impact that you have. That's the ones that I want to hear tonight. I want the student, my mother, hear the foundation of this great lady, as I said. Because she was a great lady. She was a great lady. Based on the amount of fight we tell me what she gets, and she hold up her head steadfast high like a stately woman, same way. There's greatness in that, man.
Head high.
Yeah, man. Always.
Beautiful.
But before I go, let me ask you, and Donovan, Dante, any quick question for Sonia or Mrs. Walker? You can unmute.
Yeah, no questions. I think I've heard everything. I'm sure other questions will come up, and I'm hoping that there's another forum sometime somewhere.
Yeah.
Where we'll be able to keep this link.
Yeah.
And help to immortalize the memory of Mrs. McClennon as we go forward, because she does deserve that.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. Don T. What is that? Donald who?
It's Donovan Thomas.
Donovan Thomas.
No, well, and Mrs. Walker, Miss McClennon only call him Tegreg by nickname.
Tegreg. That's right. That's what she addressed. Yes.
That's why I'm giving you the nickname. You might remember, not even Tegreg. Tegreg. Dante, pronounce it for me properly. What's one I call you?
Tegreg! Where are you going? Where are you going at this time?
She's not calling me nothing but a nickname. Exactly.
In fact, Tegreg, meet me in my office.
I love it.
And Nadine.
Wow.
Any quick question, Nadine, before I let Mrs. Walker and Sonia go?
I don't have a question, but I guess I would just I would just say it has been such a memory joyride this evening. My closing remarks, I guess I would just put it here, is to say, you, Miss Walker, and Anna, I'm looking at you and I'm looking at Miss McClennon.
Really?
I'm visualizing her with her walking around the campus, Dante, with her arms behind her back. And just going, it's like, when you have you're looking at your handiwork and the pride that she stepped with. She epitomized the true school motto, Ita Splende at Lux Vestra, let your light so shine, to the T. She deserved all the accolades to be given. And I definitely, as I said, what Prince just said, I think you have named the award, which is going to be coming up, I know. And we're definitely going to use that Order of Meadowbrook somewhere in there. Thank you so much for keeping her legacy alive. And Sonia, thank you so much. Thanks to Carol, even though she's not here. And as I said, let us continue play up and play the game, because we're all winners in Miss McClennon's eyes. We thank you, Carotta LeeAnna McClennon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm really touched by this, and may you prosper in whatever you're doing. It's just remarkable, because right now you're just being so selfless. I know you're very busy people, but you've stopped to think, and you said you pass this on to the young people that they need to recognize. Anyone who has benefited them or who have had an influence on them. Wonderful. I'm really very impressed.
Thank you so much.
Sonia, stories were meant to be told, not buried. And that is what we are not doing enough of. Telling our story, telling her story, your story, because her story becomes our story. And so we have to continue to tell the story. The good news is out there, so we just have to send it out and let everybody know. Send it far and wide, so it can live on long after we have also passed.
And you're so right, because I'm looking at my aunt here and my older aunt, Viola. I don't know if you've heard about Viola Desmond. Back in 1946 in Nova Scotia, she got arrested because she sat in the movie. She sat where she wasn't supposed to sit because she basically defied. So what they did, it's her younger sister. So, but for Viola, she died somewhere in the 60s, but it's her sister who just died 2 years ago who brought it to the front, and others that she needs to be honored. And now they have her picture on the $10 bill here in Canada, because she was one of those, was a martyr. She was one of those that back in the day, 1946, where they arrested her because she went to the movies and sat as a Black person in an area where she shouldn't have. And, she was a hairdresser at the time. So they're now recognizing her for that. She made the right move. It took how many years? And so many years after she passed away, it was being recognized. So, but you're like the standing person where Auntie's concerned. And now you are now the promoter, because someone decided, this lady needs to be honored.
Wonderful.
Now on a $10 bill.
Yeah.
Viola Desmond. You can Google her name, Viola Desmond.
So
so you're doing exactly what, because you're saying recognizing someone, because I don't think we do it enough in Jamaica. We recognize those who have been advocates.
Who have done. We stand on the shoulders of a giant, as you say, and she was a giant for us.
Yes.
Thank you ever so much. And we have some very good people in this world today.
I'd like to say one last thing before we close off. At one point, I had the pleasure of sitting on the school board, the Meadowbrook school board, and I was able to tell a number of principals and so forth, that if they were principals while I was at Meadowbrook, I would not be what I am, and I would not be giving back. I was able to tell them that straight up, right?
Excellent.
And one last thing that I want to say, through my years at Meadowbrook, I thought that I was special, but through recent discussions and so forth, I'm learning that I wasn't, or I was special, but I wasn't the only special one. There were hundreds and hundreds of special people
for Miss
in
McClennon,
Miss McClennon's eyes.
Stable, yeah.
You know, because I thought that the way she treated me and the stuff that she did for me, I was. But no, I'm learning that there are so many others that have gotten that, and I don't feel less special. I just feel happy to know that there were other special people. And I think, I mean, the world and Jamaica, because her students have gone far and wide, has been a better place for her existence. I just want to ensure that I'm able to say that.
I would say this too. I went to a function, and Harry Blair was there. Young Harry Blair still. And he said, "Oh, you Miss McClennon's sister." I said, "Oh yes, oh yes." Oh, she was so nice and special and thing. And she said, he said, "I thought I would have been head boy, There were two. Hello?
Yeah, man, where are you?
There were, it was Peter Champagny and himself. And she had to find some little thing to choose between them because they were so close.
Yeah.
So close. That's what he was saying to me. He thought he would be the head boy. And the other one thought he would be the head boy too, based on academics and the way. And eventually he said, "Boy, Champagny got it. Peter Champagny got head boy. You know who Champagny is?"
Yeah. Where are we, Robin?
The greatest lawyers.
Yeah.
Great. And his parents, he's from St. Mary,
Okay.
Yeah.
And he got to be head boy. And I don't know if they knew he was from St. Mary or anything, but that didn't have a thing to do with the head boy. There was, she said, about half a point. She had to find some little thing to choose who was head boy between those two. And I met Harry Blair some time ago, and I said, "Boy, Miss McClennon, if she could have two head boys, two head boys, and she just choose some little, and which was a vital part of that guy's character.
Yeah,
right.
Guy got it, but he was never disappointed because he knew both of them almost equal.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Everybody's special, everybody.
Yes.
Mrs. Walker, let me add this little point in there, talking about the special and the extra special. And Prince, Dante, let me just take this moment and just say to you, Mrs. Walker and Sonia and the rest of the family, on behalf of each and every student passing through the gates of the great Meadowbrook High School at 2A Meadowbrook Avenue in Kingston, Jamaica, we thank you for sharing our beloved Miss McClennon, affectionately known as Spanna, as we all called her because she was such a prowess in Spanish. Right, Dante? We thank you for sharing her with us. We thank you on behalf of every student who passed through the great halls of Meadowbrook High School. Wherever we are each making a difference in our own way in every nook and cranny of this world. We were the better for having met her, being graced by her presence. So we just wanted to say thank you, thank you, thank you. We can't say it enough. So
Thank you
again.
Nadine.
And we thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes.
We can't thank you enough.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
also.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have all the blessings.
Let me close out this program quickly because this has been a monumental conversation. And being the 100th, it's going mean a worry to me as well as Miss McClennon. It's going out as the 100th episode. So, as I always in these conversations, Sonia Dixon, Mrs. Valerie Walker, and Carol Anne-Marie, I hear the nickname or the middle name that you use.
Yeah,
Anne-Marie Walker, who is not here right now, she left earlier. And Donovan Thomas, Dante Artegreg, Nadine Moulton. This is me, Glista Prince, our Jelly, our Lance. I want to thank you all for coming to have this conversation this evening. And God bless us all. And God bless that great school at 2A Meadowbrook Avenue, where we can still have them conversation here after 30 years after Miss McClennon is no longer with us. But our spirit lives on. Our spirit lives on. And our spirit will continue to live on with these conversations. So thank you both for coming. Thank you, Dante and Nadine. And God bless us all, and God bless that great school at 2A Meadowbrook Avenue. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Enough love.
Yeah,
Happy
man.
holidays to each and every one of you.
Yes, that's it. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. Yes.
All right. Take care.
Yeah, man.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to Meadowbrook Memories. And remember to give us all the support and encouragement you can on whatever social media platform you are listening. And special thanks to my production manager, Kyle Prince, who takes care of everything involved in getting the podcast out every week. And without him, this podcast would not be possible. It is his expertise that allows me to do what I love doing every week, having great conversations about Meadowbrook Memories, and he's responsible for everything else. So again, thanks to my production manager, Kyle Prince. So remember to like, share, and subscribe these Meadowbrook Memories podcasts so neither you nor your friends will miss another Meadowbrook conversation. Thanks.